Hello, so today I have a recent reads video for you. I've got 5 books which I read not so long ago, which I'm going to tell you all about. I will try not to give too much away, but forgive me if I do. I'll let you know what I thought of them. Quite a few of them are from the Zoella Book Club as I've been making my way through it, and I have actually enjoyed all of the books from it which I have read so far, and I think I've only got 2 left to read. So I would recommend checking out the Zoella Book Club in general. I haven't looked back over what happens in the book since rereading them, so I might need to try and refresh my memory a little bit, but I'll try and explain the best I can. The first book I have is this one. It is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I've done a full review of this on my blog if you want to read into it in more depth. Head over to my blog. I also wrote that review straight after reading it, so it's probably a bit more fresh in my memory. But anyway, this book is really great. I really enjoyed it. I gotta say, I loved it, and it's one of those books I thought about after reading it, but it wasn't until it got to the end that I realised how good the story was. There's a big twist in the end, which makes sense, but it's very sad. It's a really good book. The story is about a girl called Candice, I think that's how you say it, who is from a wealthy family. Her dad's recently left her mum, and she spends her summers at her granddad's private island with all of her families, her aunties, uncles and cousins. And then there's Gat as well, who is a family friend who is an Indian boy, and he spends his summers there. Those two and a few of Caddy's cousins kind of become a little group of friends, and they enjoy spending their summers together. And then something happens one summer which leaves Caddy not remembering. She doesn't know what's happened. She knows she's waken up in the water and she doesn't know what happens. She doesn't go back to the private island the summer after, and her friends aren't replying to her letters, and she doesn't know why. And then anyway, a few years later she goes back to the island. It might even be the next year. She goes back to the island and they carry on as they have been, enjoying their summer on the island together, and she pieces together what happened the summer which she can't remember. So that's kind of a rough idea of what happens without giving too much away. Like I said, there's a big twist in it which makes the story a million times better, and it's very tragic. It's a very good read. It really makes you think a lot. It's very interesting. I definitely recommend this book. Got this one. This is The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. And this again is from the Zoella Book Club, and I love this book as well. I preferred We Were Liars, quite different books, so I'd say We Were Liars is actually aimed at a slightly older audience than The Sky is Everywhere. I don't know, I got more of a mature vibe from that one. They are all young adult books though. So The Sky is Everywhere is about Lenny, who is a girl who has just lost her sister, and she is 17. She likes to write poetry, she loves Wuthering Heights, and her sister has just died. And the book's based around how she deals with the tragedy of her sister's death alongside how the people around her deal with the tragedy as well. Then she meets somebody, and it's kind of how that pans out. Throughout the book there are poems which she writes which are found around, and they seem a bit random throughout, but then when you get to the end you understand, and it's quite nice. I enjoy reading poetry as well, so it's quite sweet to read her poetry as you read through the story. It's a lovely book. It's about dealing with tragedy and falling in love and family and all of those things. So yeah, that is a really nice book. I would recommend that one too. I definitely say I preferred We Were Liars because there's more of a twist. I think this book was a little bit more predictable, but it was a good read, and I think as I was reading this, I was more gripped to it. It was only the end of We Were Liars that I really got sucked in. The next book I have is not from the Zoella Book Club, and it is not a fictional book either, and I am possibly obsessed with this book. I mentioned it in my favourites, but I'm gonna bring it up again here. Control-Alt-Delete, How I Grew Up Online by Emma Gannon. I love this book. I love Emma anyway. I think she's great. I think her blog is great. I think her podcast is great. I just think she's all round, all types of great. And this book is probably the funniest book I have ever read. It is just hilarious. She is so funny, but it's such a natural wittiness to it. There's nothing forced about anything she says in the book. Is so honest. I think it's probably one of the most honest books I've ever read, and that just makes it so relatable. And everything Emma talks about, I remember doing. Like, she talks about conversations you'd have with boys on MSN. Like, I feel like I know what she's talking about. I just get this. I think Emma's only a few years older than me, so I kind of grew up around the same time as her, and it makes the book very relatable. Also, the book made me think a lot. She discusses things like which are a bit more heavy, like death, and then things which are a bit more light-hearted, like friendships. She discusses everything, and I'd say this first half of the book is definitely more funny as she reflects on things which have happened. The second half of the book is definitely a little bit more serious, but all round it's all kinds of great. I think Emma's very good at backing up her opinions and having knowledges. I need some knowledges. Oh god. Always very well informed, and she always seems to have a lot of knowledge on what she's speaking about. And yeah, really, really funny, really good, really interesting, so relatable. This book is brilliant. Next I have this one. This is Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher. I only read this the other day. I really enjoyed this book. There were points where I got a bit pissed off with the character. I'll explain now. So the character is about a girl called Sophie who lives in a little village, who works in a little tea shop with Molly, who becomes a friend and a family friend, and her life's very simple but seems pretty alright, like pretty lovely. She's lost her dad. The book talks a lot about death. I think it's really interesting because not many books speak about death in the way this one did. It spoke about it from Sophie's perspective, and when her dad died she was 11, and I've not seen that much in books. It's always kind of as an adult dealing with death, and I think it's interesting to see how children deal with death as well. Sophie then meets a famous actor. She's unaware that he's a famous actor at the time, and falls in love, as you do. She moves to London. I don't know if I'm giving too much away here, but I don't think I am. It's not really the main basis of the story. She moves to London to be with him, and the story is about their relationship and how it changes. And oh, it's so sad, I cried my eyes out at one point. No, there were points when I was getting annoyed with Sophie's character because I felt like she'd lost her personality, she'd lost herself, and she'd just kind of become that person who sits at home and waits for their boyfriend to get in, which isn't a cool person to be. Never be that person. And I was just about to give up on her, and then kind of the book changed a bit, and I realised there was more to the book than about the romance, which it seemed like. There's definitely more to the story. It's very sad. I cried. I don't often cry, but I cried a lot. So there is more to this story than you think again. And yeah, I really enjoyed reading it there. It was a really good read. Not my favourite of the books I've shown you, but definitely I'd recommend it. I think I only took 2 days to read it, and it's not that short, so it's a good one. The last book I read yesterday, and it is this one. This is Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon, and I think this book is really, really special. The book is about a girl called Maddie who is allergic to basically the world, to air. She's not left her house in 17 years, and that she has a nurse that comes to look after her every day, and the only people she knows are her mum and this nurse. And then she gets new neighbours, and then she falls in love, because that's what happens in these books. And it's about how she decides that she'd rather put her life at risk to live a full life than to be healthy and not live a very full life. It's really lovely, this book. Again, there is a big twist in this book. Again, it deals with the subject of death. Maddie's brother and dad have both died, and it deals with her relationship with her mum, and it deals with falling in love for the first time. It goes from like I am conversations to losing your virginity, all of those things which happen when you fall in love for the first time. Well, a lot of them, they might not happen for some people, but they do for a lot of people, especially in books. And yeah, it talks about that, and all the way through the book there are kind of little quirky illustrations which bring something to the story. They're not random illustrations, they have a purpose. I'll try and find one. There we go, there's one. And even like, it even illustrates like computer screens with like emails and stuff on, so it's quite a visual book. Very visual, and after I did read that, the author's husband actually did the illustrations as well, which I thought was bloody adorable. I love this book. I think the story was really good. It's really beautifully written, and the characters are so relatable. It deals a lot with domestic abuse and family problems that people might keep to themselves. There's a lot of issues covered. It's really lovely. I really thought this book was really special. I thought it was really precious to see how Maddie's character reacted to falling in love when she'd not really dealt with any kind of friendships or relationships. And the characters seem so real, and they really seem to click with each other. It just seemed right. All the characters in the book were really well written. I really love this book. Actually, this is probably, out of the books I've showed you, this along with Control-Alt-Delete were probably my favourites. I'm going to write a review of this one on my blog soon. My laptop's not working at the moment, which is why I probably missed the video. But as soon as it gets working, I will put a review of this one on my blog. I will also be putting a review of Control-Alt-Delete on my blog up. You know, the books I really love because they go up on my blog. But all 5 of these books, I enjoyed them. I definitely recommend reading all of them. I didn't dislike any of these books. I think they deal with a lot of important subjects. I think they were all worth a read. I don't regret reading a single one of these books for a second. Right, I feel like I really rushed through that, so sorry if I was talking really fast the entire way through, but that's it, it's done, and those are the last 5 books I've read. So let me know what you're reading at the moment. I'd be really interested to hear. I'm always looking for something new to read, so any recommendations would be great. Like I said, I would definitely recommend reading all of these books, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. That would be really lovely. I'd really appreciate it, and I hope you're having a very lovely day. A very lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.